Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Saturday, October 15th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Iowa game is in 7 days, the game against Michigan in 42 days. The Buckeyes have the day off, but there are some other big games going on today. Michigan and Penn State, Alabama, Tennessee, TCU, Oklahoma State. It is just the second time in college football history that there's a day with 3 matchups of teams that are 5-0 or better. And that means we're guaranteed to have no more than 12 unbeaten teams left after tonight. And the Buckeyes are guaranteed to be one of them. So that's not a bad spot to be in. With Ohio State off today, we're going to be hearing directly from Buckeye coaches. We're actually going to do this both today and tomorrow. Today we're talking defense. Tomorrow we're going to hear about the offense. So today we're going to start with defensive coordinator Jim Knowles. He has been a popular guy, mostly because his defense has dominated opponents for the most part this fall. And for him, that all starts up front with a disruptive line. But he knows they're going to have to do more as the schedule gets tougher in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it's everything, right? If you're creating pressure without bringing extra guys into the mix, then it gives you a lot more options in terms of the coverage and looks and things that you're able to do at the line of scrimmage, pre-snap and post-snap. So as the competition gets more intense, we need to be able to have the ability to bring pressure, to add guys into the rush. And you've seen it a little bit, but we have a much larger arsenal, I guess, than we have displayed, because our front is doing a great job of getting that pressure on the quarterback without bringing extra guys.
The defensive backfield has had a brutal year injury-wise, and that started on the very first day of 2022 when Lathan Ransom suffered a serious leg injury in the Rose Bowl. Then Ransom got back on the practice field faster than expected, and it sounds like, from based on what Knowles said, he's made a bigger than expected impact this fall as well.
Yeah, I mean, everything that Lathan does on the field is a bonus in my mind, because we did not have, from the time I arrived, I didn't have him out there. And he just shows up. He's the guy that jumps off the video. He's the guy that during the game, as I'm watching it from my vantage point, shows up in all the right places, and he's decisive. So credit to him, and he loves to play football, and I think for a guy to come back from that significant injury is really a good story to tell.
The Buckeyes have rotated a ton at certain spots, some in others, and very little in others. So how do those decisions get made as far as who's going to play and when? And who actually makes those decisions?
You have to know your players, and if a guy's battling for a position and it's back and forth and not that much needs to be said. Those kind of battles, they happen, one guy's on the rise, just playing better. But I think if it's a drastic change, you have to make sure that, we do, that the players are aware of it. The parents, the whole group, everybody, from coach day on down, we're very sensitive to that, to make sure that, because guys put a lot of work into this life that they lead. So it's our job to be up front with them. So different situations, right? I mean, if it's close battle back and forth week to week, not much needs to be said. When it comes to reps, yeah, I think, most of the time that goes to the position coach. I mean, that's ultimately a position coach's responsibility, but Coach Day will weigh in, or I'll weigh in if we think there's a need to. But I mean, we have a lot of great coaches, so they really manage that. When you create a group of these guys are game ready, that's these guys are game ready, and that's what we talk about. Who's game ready? Once a guy is deemed game ready, then really it becomes up to the position coach how they rotate him back and forth.
We are seeing new things from the Buckeyes from week to week on defense. Last year's defense was fairly static and predictable. This year has been a mixture of coverages and personnel, and the results have followed and been a very difficult defense for opponents to diagnose. So we undoubtedly have not seen everything that Jim Knowles' defense has to offer. So did they use this off week to install a bunch of new stuff for the back half of the season?
there are things that we've installed that we have not shown yet. So, we do that. I do that as I kind of think weeks in advance. So we want to be able to, I don't think it's best if you install something that week and put it in the game. I mean, sometimes you need to do that, but I'd much rather think ahead, and we've put things in now that you'll see in the upcoming weeks. So we'll continue that in the bye week. I don't think it'll be like, hey, let's download some more during this week because it's the bye week. But we try to stay a few weeks in advance. I do with my thinking. So we'll just continue at the same pace. It's working, and I definitely don't want to put more on the players.
Mike Hall was a very big topic of conversation after racking up 2.5 sacks in just 7 snaps against Michigan State. The great Tim May dubbed him an "oh no" guy for what opponents might find themselves saying when they saw him lined up across from them on the field. So how does Knowles like having him as an option on the line?
You say "oh no" guy when the other team looks at him.
Looks at him. Oh, no.
I hope so. But that's a good question for Coach Jay. I think he's up next. But I mean, I like to see Mike in there, because I know that for me it's the "oh yes" guy, right? Because I'm like, oh yeah, okay, Mike's ready to go. Now that means any one-on-one matchups that we create through bluffs and different, to get him one-on-one, or the games that Coach Jay calls and things. That means that the probability for success is going to be high, which then goes back to, hey, helping our corners, like we said, in different disguises and things. So he does change the game for us, for sure.
It's kind of hard to believe now, but Hall was the most unheralded member of the 2021 defensive line class. So how has he gotten to be such an impact player? Here's what defensive line coach Larry Johnson had to say about that.
Well, it starts in the weight room first. That's the most important thing. Coach Mickey's group did a great job of getting those guys physically ready. That's the bottom line. Second part is just getting ready to play on the field. We probably spent more time this season really attacking the sleds more, and just kind of really pounding the sleds, just get more physical fits throughout practice. So that's one thing that kind of added more up just to make sure that we're physical at the line of scrimmage. And that's kind of helped us.
One of the guys up front who came out of high school with a ton of hype was Teron Vincent. He was ranked as the top defensive tackle in his class by some outlets, but he's just had a ton of injuries earlier in his career. Now that he's finally healthy, he's finally making a real impact as well for Larry Johnson.
I think he came in early, he had some injuries, and he got set back. Those things set him back. And I thought from the spring on, he kind of really dedicated himself to really make sure he's in great shape. He's in great shape, 305, and that's where he wants to be. But he's playing at a very high level. And he's a great leader on the front four for us. I mean, he knows everybody's position. He can get them lined up. And that's the thing I think he's doing a great job. And the leadership skills he brings to us is pretty good, too. So I think that's the biggest thing. He's stronger, he's healthy, and he's playing at a very high level.
One thing that's made the line so productive this year is that it seems like everyone is out there making a difference when they get a chance. In the past, it's just sort of been, double team the guy who's making the big play, and then that makes it a lot harder for them. So how does Larry Johnson look at it when teams double team one of his guys this year?
Oh, he's getting some extra credits. I think there's some extra attention, as would say, for some reason. But that's part of it, though, right? It really is. And you look at the game, look at the play, and you worry about the defensive end. So you start tripling, you start doubling, and when you start doing that, you turn somebody in loose one-on-one, and that's why the matchup's pretty good for us. Before, you'd have one defensive end was really good, and you might have another guy, then they double, you got nothing. So now when you decide to chip both ends, you turn two guys loose on the inside one-on-one. Maybe the center slide to one guy, but you leave one guy one-on-one, and we count on that one-on-one to win for us.
In addition to Mike Hall, one of the young guys who is starting to come into his own this year is Jack Sawyer. How much better can Jack get in the coming weeks?
There's still a lot on the table that we still haven't done yet in the Jack package. So we have to teach him. Him and Javante has been our two guys that we've been training for the Jack, and that's why you see Javante goes in, and we train him for a Jack position. But they also have to learn how to play defensive end, and so it's kind of like double duty. So you got to be careful how much we put on his plate because he's got to play two positions, even though they sing similar, but they have different techniques to go around. So progressively, we're moved forward in it, but we still have some things that we need to do, that we can do, I should say, in the Jack package.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that show. Jim Knowles and Larry Johnson are always two very, very entertaining guys to talk to, and always have some interesting stuff to say. And we don't get a chance to hear from position coaches all that often during the season, so it's nice to get a chance to hear from Larry. Tomorrow, you're going to get a chance to hear from a different position coach, Justin Fry, the offensive line coach. He was a really entertaining interview when we got to talk to him earlier in the week. So you're going to get to hear a bunch from him on tomorrow's show. So make sure you are subscribed. If you enjoyed today's show, you're going to enjoy tomorrow's show. So make sure you're subscribed to the podcast feed. And if you are enjoying these shows, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. That will help other folks find these shows as we continue to build the audience after starting the show from zero again back in August or so. So if you can leave us a 5-star rating and review, which we would truly appreciate that. That makes a very big difference and hopefully does not take too much trouble on your end. So one other thing you might want to consider doing is subscribing to BuckeyeHuddle.com. We have a fantastic team of insiders, really fun community, lots of insight, lots of analysis, fun recruiting columns, lots of interesting insight on some of the big names in Ohio State recruiting. Great coverage of the team, of course, and great X's and O's coverage as well. Find it all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Less than 50 cents a day. Sign up today. We have a ton of great stuff coming in the next few weeks. And as the season, the back half of that regular season gets going, should be a very fun and very interesting time at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.